Okay, here we go. Here's our first week. We are going to start with chapter 1, of course, of The Hiding Place, the 35th anniversary edition. Chapter 1 is called The 100th Birthday Party. Let's walk through the study guide and take question by question so you guys can understand how I would answer the questions and why I even asked that question in the first place, is to kind of highlight certain aspects of the book that I probably won't be able to cover in the class because my time is so limited, but I still wanted to go through each question and kind of talk about those together. So this is how we're going to do it. So chapter 1, the 100th birthday party, our scriptural theme. So the idea is read the scriptural theme first and kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you're going through the questions. Our scriptural theme is Isaiah 46, 9 through 10. Let's look at that. Remember the former things of old, for I am God and there is no other. I am God and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times things not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will accomplish all my purpose. So at the beginning of the book here, they're kind of introducing everybody. It picks up where it's several years before World War II begins. Chapters 2 and 3 will jump back in time and you'll get to see kind of Corey growing up with her family as it introduces everybody. But chapter 1, they're just opening up right at the 100th birthday party of the watch shop, so the shop's party, and it's going to kind of introduce us to everybody, and it's this kind of moment in time where there's echoings in the distance of something coming, but they don't really know what's coming, not Corey and the people that are living with her father and her sister. So let's see. Question 1 is, what is Casper ten Boom, that's Corey's father, his nickname among the people of their city, Haarlem? This is answered on page 20. The answer is that he's Haarlem's grand old man. I asked this question because I want you to understand that they're not nobody's in their community. Like, they're poor, they're not powerful, they're not like influential in the way that you would be if you're like wealthy and successful and all of those things. They're very simple, ordinary people, but they are greatly loved within their community. They are an establishment within their community, especially on their particular street in their city. So they have a fantastic group of people that love and admire them all around them, and that's really going to come into play as World War II kicks off and the Nazi invasion of Holland happens and they live kind of under Nazi rule. They're going to use those connections. So this is establishing that they are greatly loved in their community, and he is Haarlem's grand old man. Question 2, in the dining room, which is the heart of their home, in the dining room of the Baye, that's how we think we say it, J's or Y's, I'm pretty sure, there is a statement about Jesus. What does it say? This is the answers found on page 21, and it is, Jesus is victor. So I pointed this out because I wanted you to think about the fact that Corey grew up seeing this sign in the dining room every single day of her life. She's always lived there, and it is this proclamation again and again and again that she sees that Jesus is victor, right? That Christ has the victory. And so that's been ingrained in her since she was a tiny, tiny baby. And now as she's an older adult woman, it's that truth. She's going to be able to hold on to that. When darkness and enemy is all around her and it looks like evil has the victory, she remembers that Jesus is victor, that he has this victory. So she holds on to that. Question 3. How many children did Casper care for in addition to his own 4 children? The answer for this is on page 22, and he cared for an additional 11 other children, which is just incredible because, again, they weren't wealthy. They didn't have a lot. It's not like they gave out of their abundance. They gave out of their lack, but they gave with hearts that were so willing to give. God just made it work. They had a habit of taking in people. They had a habit of seeing the weak and the needy and the orphaned and the beggar at the door and taking them in and finding a place for them at their table and in finding a place for them in their actual home to live. So it's this beautiful picture that as we get later on in the books and you see this like really heroic actions, know that those actions were practiced in smaller, simpler actions all throughout their lives, and having an open home and an open heart to anyone who needed it. All right, question 4. Corey alludes to the future events that will happen to them. How does she describe these soon coming things? This was such an interesting thing here. Let me read it here. It's page 23. It was a day for memories, talking about the party day. It was a day for memories, a day for calling of the past. How could we have guessed as we sat there, two middle-aged spinsters and an old man, that in place of memories were about to be given adventures such as we had never dreamed of. Adventures and anguish and horror and heaven were just around the corner, and we did not know. So I highlighted the word adventures. If you read the introduction to the book, it talks about when the authors, the people that actually wrote Corey's story, when the authors met her. Oh no, the authors talked about that. It is Joni Eareckson Tada in her foreword. She talks about it. She talks about seeing Corey and how she had this hope about the things that happened to her, and not just the sorrow of it. Like, there's still sorrow there. Like, she doesn't say, oh, it was only fun and games and yay. Like, she admits that there was horror and anguish there, but there was also adventures. There was also them getting to see the hand of God in an incredible way that they never would have seen before. There was also that they got to be vessels, they got to be used by God in really miraculous ways to save so many lives. So she doesn't paint it with like the worst possible brush, but like she doesn't paint it in gloom and misery. She paints it with this mixture of, there was horror and anguish, yes, but there was beauty and there was adventure and there was the incredible display of God's glory that you could see there. So I think that's important. It helps you understand that she's looking at this through a spiritual lens and not just through a natural lens that's like, they took things from me, I hate them. It's a, no, this is a really complex, and you can see the hand of God as well as the hand of evil. Question 5, how does Isaiah 46, 9 through 10, which we just read, help us to understand the Ten Boom family's future and even our own? So the thing that really sticks out for me there is that God knows the end from the beginning. God doesn't just make plans. God doesn't see into the future and know what's happening. And God doesn't just like hope that things will happen. God purposes things. He knows the end from the beginning, and he is in control of those things. All of his will be accomplished. And so Corey's, it picks up at this 100th birthday party. She's saying that if she were back in there, she would be like, oh, things are coming we never would have known. But God knew. God knew, and God purposed and ordained all of these things before the foundation of the world, right? In their mother's womb, he knew these people. And he had set forth a purpose for them to rescue people, to rescue Jews, yes, but other Hollanders, and then to go forward and spread the gospel using what is this incredible and heartbreaking and glorious testimony of theirs. So she's standing at a place going, I don't know what's in the future, but God does. How could I have ever known? But God knows. And we can say that too. We can be like, I have no idea what's coming. I have no idea what's coming 5 minutes from now, 5 years from now, 50 years from now, in our country, 500 years from now. We don't know, but we can trust that God does, and that he has ordained everything. He has ordained the end from the beginning. Question 6, during the birthday party, Casper, again, that's Corey's father, interacts with the neighborhood children. What does this tell you about his character? I love this. It's such a great picture of who he is, which is that all of the children adore him and want to come and sit on his lap and sit on his feet, and he gives them so much attention, right? It makes a point of saying, like, the mayor is there, the whoever other influential people are there, right, to celebrate this anniversary of this really important, or this long established watch shop that's been there forever. He's got all these rich, important, and powerful people. And who does Casper give all of his attention to? The children. They can't do anything for you. They have no money. They have no power. They have no ability to advance yourself. But he does this, and it's such a beautiful picture. It's so very Christ-like, to say, oh, let the little children come, and to want them to not see people as stepping stones to get something for yourself, but just to be generous and want to give. So I love this picture of him with the little children. Question 7. It's a quotation from page 31. It says, I know that the experience of our lives, when we let God use them, become the mysterious and perfect preparation for the work He will give us to do. What are some of the things God has already taught the Ten Boom family that they will need as persecution and hardship comes? So this is Corey saying, like, God very often, most of the time, doesn't just drop something on us out of nowhere. He's done this beautiful, patient preparation work in our hearts, giving us small things, little things to be faithful in, little challenges to learn to overcome. He's doing all of these things to prepare us, lessons from our child and from just our youth as a whole, so that we can use those lessons and those learned things to glorify Him when hard things come, when really difficult challenges in our life come. We can go, oh, my Father prepared me for this. Oh, He's not just thrown me in without help. He taught me this. And sometimes there's a very one-for-one easy correlation, and sometimes it's just waking up and daily taking up your cross and daily choosing Christ first, choosing your Bible first, choosing to just sacrifice in little ways, so that one day, in a big way with what you're asked to sacrifice, you will have kind of built that muscle over years and decades of your life. And so God prepares us. Again, He prepares because He knows the end from the beginning. He prepares because He's purposed all of this, and because He's a really good Father that doesn't just throw us in, but that who gently leads us and prepares our hearts for difficult things most of the time. I'm sure there are times where God will kind of shove us in a little bit and we may flounder, but even in that, He's with us. Okay, let's go on to question 8. I'm gonna have to turn the page here. Oh, question 7 goes on. It says, reflect on your own life and look for things that God has taught you already that will help you in your life moving forward. So this is a very personal question. There's just so many things that I can see that the Lord instilled in me, and entrusted Him, and how to enjoy Him even in hard things, and to just know that God is good even in really later that would come hard aspects of my life. So I can absolutely see God's fingerprints and all those things. All right, last question. This will be the last question for every chapter. Yes, for every chapter. It says, is there any word, phrase, or idea that stuck out to you in this chapter? And so those are very kind of personal things. Let's see. I will tell you my favorite thing from chapter 1. There's so many things, but I think this reveals something really important about me when I read it. So this is page 24, and it's talking about Christophels when it's talking about the very first time he showed up at the Beyer at the watch shop. And it says, Corey says, I remember the day 6 or 7 years earlier when he had first come to the shop, so ragged and woebegone that I'd assumed that he was one of the beggars who had the Beyer marked as a sure meal. I was about to send him up to the kitchen where Betsy kept a pot of soup simmering, and then he goes on to announce that he's there for a job. I read that, and in my mind, in my American, Western, modern mind, I read, I was about to send him, and I thought I was going to be away. I was about to send him away, tell him to go about his business, tell him to go beg elsewhere, to get out of here. I thought that's where that sentence was going. And it's so telling of my heart that I just assumed, oh, somebody that looks like a beggar has showed up to your door. Obviously, you're just going to tell him to skedaddle on, and that, no, not at all. They literally kept a pot simmering with soup or broth or whatever they had, so that when people showed up, they sent them straight up. And I was so convicted by that. So very convicted. And so it betrays my heart and my discomfort with the idea of having that level of trust in strangers, which I know we should be wise and careful about these things, but still it betrayed my heart that I assumed that's where it was going. But instead it shows the beautiful heart and the standard that this family had when it came to being generous. Again, not out of their plenty, but out of their lack, and being open to care for those who would normally be cast off. Okay, so I think that's going to be it. I will see you guys at chapter 2, and hopefully this all works out. Thanks.